Hello guys, and welcome back to another video with me, Razor. It's been a long time guys since I've made a video on my channel and from my Shadow Priest, and I'll be honest with you guys, I've not been away from World of Warcraft. I've been playing other classes. I have been trying to train myself and get ready for the new expansion to try and know everything that there is to know about other classes. I know there's going to be a lot of changes, but I think it's equally as important to be very skilled in knowing exactly what's going to happen and to expect something to happen before it does. And the only way you can really achieve this is by building and playing other classes and even PvPing with them. That's basically what I've done guys. I'm sure you remember from my previous login screen I had a lot less level 90s. I've used already my level 90 boost. I got a rogue, I got obviously my Death Knight, my druid, I got a warrior level 89, 87, I've got a couple of level 90s on other servers as well. I've got a mage and I have a hunter. Now guys, as I say, it's very important to know how these classes work, but for me, my own journey was to try and see if there is a class that I could be just as focused on as my priest and play it just as well as I like to think I play on my priest, and also to see if there is any benefits for the upcoming expansion, whether or not I can maybe gain something and to learn to play on my priest even better. And I think you guys and myself are happy to go ahead and say that priest I think will be a very enjoyable class in Warlords of Draenor, and I think it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy, but then again we never really have had an easy life being a Shadow Priest. I think it's very important to remember guys that in the next expansion we're going to see a lot of changes and it will take time to get used to it. I think a lot of people, experienced and unexperienced PvPers, even gladiators, will see that there's going to be a lot of change and it will take getting used to. It isn't as swift and as efficient as transitions have been from one expansion to the next. We have had, in terms of PvP, in my opinion, not that much change from one expansion to the other. There's always been a change throughout the expansion that maybe changed a few things around to make it a little bit more difficult to play, but it's always been kind of done in a way where it can merge everything together and then not create such a big problem or a big wall to have to climb. Now in this expansion and the next couple of months, I think a lot of things are going to start changing slowly. Once we do take on the expansion, a lot of things will just kind of hit everyone like a brick wall because everything's going to change. I'm not just talking about the item squish, I'm also talking about all the different ability changes, all the different DRs, all the different CC changes, especially when it comes to PvP. So as I say, it takes everyone vitally back to almost zero, and everyone starts again from zero and upwards. So anybody out there who thinks that they are, you know, as bad or as good as anybody else, then I think you'll see that in the next couple of months and in the start of Warlords of Draenor, you're going to be among the rest of the people starting out and experiencing what it's like to have to learn a few things extra. Now, I'm not saying obviously the experienced players won't have an advantage, of course, that's always a given because they know the game, they know the abilities, but you'll see a lot of them have to, for example, re-macro things, maybe replan things and rebind the keys that they have relied on for God knows how many years. So guys, I'm back and I have got a few new things. Obviously I've got this new mount from the Warlords of Draenor Special Collector's Edition, which I really love. I've kind of coupled it with the old set that I've got, which kind of looks really nice. It's all very golden and white, and it kind of makes it look really nice with all the chains and all the metallic bits. Anyway, aside from cosmetics, I want to talk about exactly what's going to be happening in Warlords of Draenor, and I don't want to go into too much specifics, guys, because it might take too long and it just gets boring. But basically, the gist of it is, it looks like we will be having, I mean, from the patch notes, from when I started reading for the first time about what's going to happen the first day that they released it, straight away the thought that came into my mind is PvE. Always the problem seems to be that when they focus on PvE they disregard PvP, and when they focus on PvP they seem to disregard PvE. So, a lot of our talent changes, like our base single target damage buffs, seems to be improved because it was low apparently in PvE. I didn't think it was that low, to be honest. I mean, even with half PvP gear when I did my PvE or my raid finder, I was still not doing too badly in raids and in DPS, but I guess single target damage is weaker than other classes, maybe in the hardcore raiding and heroic raiding guilds. Then I guess maybe it does deserve it, and obviously it's welcome. I welcome this change. It's brilliant, the fact that we're going to be doing more damage. There's going to be more ways to proc Mind Blast, sorry, not Mind Blast, there's going to be more ways to gain orbs and more Mind Blast procs, of course, and then also there's going to be more single target damage increases altogether, like from Mental Anguish, which is our new mastery. So the good parts is that damage wise I think we are very much on the table, and they have really thought about what exactly we do as a Shadow Priest, the way we create our damage, and they seem to have given us a lot of ways to further kind of advance our damage and make it even more pressurizing for other classes and in arena. So what are the negatives? Well, we all said, I think a lot of Shadow Priests out there agree, that we had mobility and survivability issues. We have one main cooldown which we use, and of course you guys, any Shadow Priest out there really will know that it's going to be Dispersion. Now there is a glyph, I think, for Dispersion that's going to decrease the cooldown and slightly change it as well, I believe, in the next expansion when it comes out. So I'm really looking forward to see what that will be. I don't think it's going to be that big a difference. It's not going to make it like a 1 minute cooldown, because that would be too overpowering, I think. What I would like to have seen is, I would like to have seen it have 2 charges, to be honest. There are a lot of abilities that have 2 charges, or limitations, but still with 2 charges. So that is one thing that I think will stay the same. It's not going to change much. The one other thing I wanted to bring up is that our healing, from what I've seen in PTR, is just non-existent. It's going to be very difficult to heal. I guess it is balanced across, and obviously PTR is a test realm and you're testing it, and I like to think that there is not going to be solid rock you know, numbers when it comes to the final release, when the expansion finally is released in November. But at the moment it just seems like we are not really healing enough to stay alive. Yes, our damage is good. It's not so good that we can just use Devouring Plague to heal. The reason why is because Devouring Plague does a lot of damage, and doing a lot of healing means we have to do a lot of damage, and doing a lot of damage must be capped, because otherwise it will be unbalanced. So the fact that we may be needing to rely on Devouring Plague to do some of our healing, I don't think will be efficient enough to keep us alive. The one thing that we do have is the Prayer of Mending. We no longer have Flash Heal, which is a disappointment, because it was one of our core heals, really, you know, being a DPS, having Hot, you know. Then again, we're a priest, we're the only only class in the game that had 2 healing specs, so we should have more heals and tankiness. And aside from that, obviously they've now nerfed for Shadow Priest Prayer of Mending, making it castable, which means that it's obviously open to interrupts, and obviously then it's going to make it harder for us to kind of maintain it, and you're going to be sitting there basically taking a lot of hits and a lot of interrupts from melee. And like the problem that existed with Shadow Priest is that we didn't have much mobility, we didn't have many ways to break you know, roots and kind of snares, and at the moment, from what I see, there isn't much improvement on that, and at the same time we don't have a lot of other options when it comes to survivability, apart from, as I was saying, from Dispersion. So moving on, what are we going to expect when it comes to the way that we're going to play in PvP, in Arena and in Battlegrounds? Well, I think that next expansion is not going to be much different. The way that we play at the moment, it seems like it will be very similar. It will have some changes in the sense that you're going to be taking a lot less time to create DPS, because you're going to have more resources, you're going to have more ways of creating resources, obviously resources being our vital orbs. Now, that said, how will it affect our other, the other side? And of course, in my other videos in the past, I've explained that there are 3 factors when it comes to PvP. Factors are mobility, they are DPS, of course, and then there is healing. And there's obviously the 4th factor, which is CC, but everybody has CC. So those are the core factors for priests, and because we were, I guess we were weaker maybe than other classes in Mists of Pandaria when it comes to CC, because our CCs, although Fear was very strong, our CCs by many priests and by other classes weren't seen as the best, and obviously Fear being a breakable ability by many talents. I can mention a few, but you guys are already aware of it. But the main core features that we had was our damage, it was our healing, and it was our mobility. Try to get around, which is why obviously when it was nerfed, our feathers were rebuffed, and then we were able to now have almost infinite 80% movement buff, which is brilliant. So what does it mean? I mean, I think that eventually Shadow Priests are going to really become quite vital in arena compositions, and they're going to be one of the top specs to include in terms of damage, because if this is not nerfed, but I believe at this moment in time, the way that things look, there will be maybe even some sort of exploit to try and give out more damage and more DPS overall. I don't know exactly, to be honest, what will happen in terms of the the survival side of it for Shadow Priests. I don't think a lot will change. I think Shadow Priests just need to learn to survive in unorthodox ways and in unorthodox methods. So I don't know if you guys, I'm sure the ones that have been watching my videos have seen me do absolutely everything to try and survive. I even, as they say here in England, throw the kitchen sink at the opponent to try and stop them from doing more damage to me, to just try and heal up in the small space of time that you have. I think we just need to do that, to be honest. I think Shadow Priests just need to learn to be a bit more squishy. They need to learn to take it and survive it in other means. We still will have our feathers, we still will have some of our CCs. I know they're going to be changing a lot of the diminishing returns, so a lot of them will now, a lot of people don't like dominate mine, but I think it's quite key because it's our only free castable ability with no cooldown, which we can diminish in arena and in battlegrounds, and I think it might become more valuable in the future, especially to healers, because the cooldown of Psychic Scream has gone up, and it will take too long, I think, and it will become too situational for us to use it. I think it will still be the option for Shadow Priest, to be honest, because you get obviously the melee off you if you're fearing, and I think Dominate Mind will have its place, but it will mainly be with healers. In terms of CC overall, I don't know. I think it's going to be quite tight. We will still have obviously an improved version of Psychic Horror, which I wanted to go into, because Psychic Horror will now no longer take up all your orbs. You have more orbs to use, so it doesn't take that vital decision many countless times. I'm sure you guys have seen my dueling videos. I've had to kind of consider, look, I've got 2 orbs, I need to kill, to burst and kill the opponent, but then at the same time I'm almost dead, so should I maybe use Psychic Horror as an emergency and lose out on my DPS? And you really got to consider whether it's going to plan out for you to win and be able to survive, and then you kind of check your mana and your mana is almost gone and you think, oh, it's hopeless. But having said that, now mana regeneration I think won't be a problem, and Psychic Horror has kind of had its buff. I think we're going to be okay in terms of CC. I think we'll be okay in terms of CC. I think we'll be okay in terms of damage, definitely. I think mobility won't be too much of a problem. You just got to really learn to play it. And as everybody will tell you, Shadow Priests are not for the kind of a starter World of Warcraft player. You need to really know what you're doing in the game to be able to play them. And I'm not sitting here obviously saying by all means that I'm one of the best Shadow Priests out there. I just have played it for a very long time. And as I kind of started out in this video by saying, I've played so many other classes in the time that I've spent away from my Shadow Priest. But I realised that actually, my Shadow Priest is where most of my skill in WoW and in PvP lies. I spent a lot of time in PvP, a lot of time in PvE on this character, and I just feel like it's almost second nature. And I think when you feel that in the class, you really kind of know that even if it's hard, you still try to get better and try to play it even more. That's definitely what I want to do. I don't think I want to move away from that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would say play other classes, because you really do learn exactly what they do and how they do it. For example, now mentally I know warriors have a certain amount of cooldowns. They have, I know this will be changing, but of course at least I know what they do and the way they do it, and I know what, because I've played as a warrior myself against other classes, I know what I'm most likely to do in certain situations. That way you learn to expect the unexpected, I guess, and then you can have a counter and something ready for it. Again, I want to reference you guys to some of the duels I've had with, in the last video that I made. I know it's been a long time, but I made a video where I dueled a mage, I remember, and he just wanted to go all out DPS, and I kind of thought, because you need to be quite sufficient in thinking ahead of what's going to happen, I kind of thought about what's going to happen, when he's going to block, what he was likely to do after the block, and kind of almost guessed what his next action was going to be. That's the way I was able to win. That's the way I was able to exploit his hypothermia, for example, so that he doesn't block my fiend and he doesn't block my insanity flays. Just lastly, guys, I want to say a huge thank you for everybody and every support, every message, every comment, and every like and every subscribe that I've got. I've been away for a couple of months, 3 or 4 months actually now, and I have had a huge amount of support and a huge amount of people messaging me over Facebook and YouTube and asking for me to make more videos and do various different things and different content. I'd like to say thanks so much. It is more than appreciated, and you wouldn't believe how far it goes to encourage me to just keep producing these videos and these tutorials. And guess what? I will be making more of them as the expansion comes out. I will be making tutorials into how to beat every class once the new mechanics are released. I will be making tutorials and duel videos into how to win in 1v1 situations. And I promise, guys, I am always going to be priest at heart. I always have been since I started playing in very early Burning Crusade, and I encourage each and every one of you priests out there to do the same and to improve yourselves. And please, as always, if you want any answers, please give me a shout, send me a message, and I will be glad to help. Guys, thank you so much. If you like my videos, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and thank you for watching.